one man should believe he's greater than the nation and that he is above the principles of the Constitution. There are three broad tests to check if the political executive is constitutionally accountable. Three checks for the country to remain democratic over time. So let's see how our country is faring on these three checks. The first is direct electoral accountability to the people. The second, there is accountability to the judiciary and other fourth branch institutions. And third, there is accountability rendered by the media and civil society as watchdogs of the citizenry at large. This government brought in a discriminatory Citizenship Amendment Act that is openly violative of the fundamental right to equality before law. All the BJP state governments are competing with each other in bulldozer justice, demolishing homes, usually of minorities, without due process of law. In 2017-18, the BJP got 97.7% of funds that were legalized by surreptitious changes to the campaign finance laws. When the electoral bond numbers came out earlier this year, we saw that the BJP had between 54 and 57% of the total amount raised in the past 6 years. This kind of unfair advantage for the BJP in campaign finance has created a very skewed playing field for the opposition in recent years. There's no denying this. This government willfully defied the spirit of the Supreme Court ruling on the Election Commission's independence by replacing the Chief Justice of India on the selection committee with a government-appointed minister. So you have a 2-to-1 majority. Prior to Modi ji becoming Prime Minister, how often did we hear of an election commissioner not filling their full term? So ever since this government is coming, 2 election commissioners have inexplicably quit before their terms have ended. The 2024 elections saw egregious violations of the Model Code of Conduct by the BJP, and specifically by the Prime Minister, which an eager and compliant commission blatantly ignored. But even the smallest violation by an opposition party saw the ECI taking prompt, stringent action. Appointments to the National Human Rights Commission have been widely criticized, especially of Justice Arun Mishra and others close to the establishment. This is a judge who, while in office, heaped praise on Modi ji, calling him an international visionary who thought globally and acted locally. And lest the Treasury benches claim this assessment is a biased one, please remember, it is precisely this kind of appointments that have undermined the independence of the NHRC, so much so that the NHRC has lost its UN accreditation. The NHRC can no longer represent India or vote at the UN Council of Human Rights. I do not think that the framers of our constitution ever imagined a scenario where judges would rely on private conversations with God to write judgments, rather than on objective logic, on reasoning, and on the law and the Constitution. This government on a daily basis is pursuing unconstitutional methods of restricting freedom of the press and freedom of speech. Its ill-conceived amendments to the IT rules to create fact-checking units was recently struck down by the Bombay High Court as being violative of Articles 14 and 19 of the Constitution. The latest UP police cases against fact-checker Mohammad Zubair, when the UP police is invoking de facto sedition against a fact-checker who is documenting hate speech. This is preposterous. They said we are dropping sedition, but you also replaced it with a far more draconian Section 152. There's also something else which we all need to think about. The BNS for the first time adds terrorism as a punishable offense and defines it as an act that intends to threaten the unity, integrity, and security. So the crime of terrorism is no longer anchored in an actual act. It's anchored in an intent or a thought. This means that from now onwards, the parents of disappearing Kashmiris or disappearing Manipuris who are protesting peacefully in a park can be accused of being terrorists. What they do or do not do in that park while they assemble is besides the point. As long as a police officer is convinced that they have the intent to do something, they can be terrorists. This makes terrorism a thought crime. Madam Chairperson, this is closer to the letter and spirit of the dystopian reality in George Orwell's 1984 than it is to the Constitution of India. Let me turn to how the policy of 1,000 cuts has damaged our institutions. Institutions like the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI have turned into extortionist departments for the government. 14 political parties approached the Supreme Court against the coercive criminal actions of these two agencies. 95% of cases by these two agencies are against opposition politicians. Since 2014, 25 opposition leaders facing corruption have crossed over to the BJP. 23 of them have got reprieves. 3 cases are closed. 20 cases are stalled. The judiciary and the media have a far greater responsibility in protecting our constitution than do normal citizens. To every Chief Justice of India, past and present, I say this: yours is not to worry about your personal legacy. Yours is not to take directions from God. Yours is not to have a private family function turned into a televised circus with the political executive. The Constitution is your only God.